So now we've got the foot bone and the shin bone created. It's time to make the thigh bone. And this one's a little bit more complicated because it requires a few extra steps. This is pretty much the same dimensions as the shin. So we're going to create a rectangle that is approximately 25 millimeters by 12 millimeters. Next, we're going to create a circle. And our circles should be approximately 12 millimeters in diameter. And we're going to do a simple extrude here of this piece. That's going to be 12 millimeters in height. Next, we're going to have to make a cylinder to insert at the edge of this to cut it out. This cylinder we're actually going to make a little bit larger than the 12 millimeter diameter. We're going to make it 14. Do a simple extrude. Now, according to our blueprints, this has to be 8 millimeters in height. Then we're going to do a quick align. We're going to hide that other body. So now we come up here to modify. We select two objects we want to align. Are these two? Notice how they fit seamlessly in there. Click OK. Next, we're going to go back under modify so we can actually do some subtracting. On the right side, make sure that your operation is indeed cut. Start with your object that you want to keep, which is this one. Then select the object you'd like to subtract. Notice how it turns pink. Click OK. And there we go. Now we have to create the rod that connects these two round pieces so they'll create the actual hinge when it's merged. Make a simple circle. This circle will be 3 millimeters in diameter. Extrude it by 8 millimeters. So we're going to do some quick aligning here. We're going to go up to modify. We're going to hit the align button. Click on that shape. Click on that. You'll notice that it's perfectly aligned in the center. So we're going to move the rod up by 4 millimeters. And there we have it. Alright, for this next part, what we're going to do, we're actually going to make a sphere. Come up under create, hit sphere, and select the plane you want to draw it on. In this case, I'm drawing it on this plane. We're going to have a sphere of 12 millimeters because we're going to use this sphere and we're going to cut it in half and then we're going to merge it with the leg. So 12. What we're going to do, we're going to sketch a spline. And the reason we're sketching a spline is because that's how we're going to be able to cut this unit in half. And we're going to draw a line cutting this sphere right in half. Now, this is where we go into a little bit different tool set. We're going to come up here to the upper left-hand corner, and where it says Model, we're going to drop that down. We're going to hit Patch. And under the patch, we're going to hit Create. Then we'll hit Extrude. We're going to extrude that spline, and we're going to extrude it 20 millimeters. I want to make sure I have enough to go completely through with it. Think of it being like an apple and a knife. The spline is the knife. The sphere is going to be the apple. So you'll notice I have a line there, and look, it looks like a giant blade is cutting through. Alright, so now we've got this large looking blade through the sphere. What we will do next, we'll come back up to the upper left hand corner under patch, click that so we can go back to our model. Once we go to that, go under modify, and then go under split body. What you'll notice on the right hand side, we have some options here. It says body to split. We're going to select the body we want to split. In this case, it's the sphere. And what you'll notice when I hover above it, it kind of goes gray to let me know I can work with the whole body. Click on that, it turns blue. Next, the splitting tool. What are you using to cut it in half? In this case, I'm going to be using the blade here that I made from the spine. So click that, and then go ahead and click OK now. I can now select my move tool, and I can now move this part of the sphere up there. So now that we have the pieces split, what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this piece, the blade. We can just come up here, right click, and hit delete. Then we're going to come over to this piece, which according to here is our body 16. I'm going to right click and simply hit remove. Our next step in this process is we are going to make this hollowed out, because when we go to put our joint in, we're going to need to have it so we can put the ball joint in. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on this flat side of the sphere. We're going to come up to modify. We're going to go under shell. and we're going to have a 2mm sidewall. Now that we have this half of a sphere hollowed out at 2mm for the sidewalls, we're actually going to, for the moment, we're going to hide that body. And what we're going to do next, we're going to come work on this side of the object, because what we need to do, we need to make a hollow shape. So when we put the ball joint in, half of it will go in that half of a sphere, the other half will come in set nice and neat here. While working on this side, what we're going to do, we're going to create a sphere. We're going to put it right here. And we need an 8mm sphere. I need to align it now with this shape. So simply go up to Modify, hit Align, select the sphere first because that's the shape we're moving, and click on this rectangle here because that's where we're moving it to. And there you go. Now we want to combine the two, and we have a good bowl cut. Once we have that bowl cut into the inside of there, let's go ahead and make our other sphere reappear, because we're going to be working with that. We're going to make some notches, some cutouts, both on the side and the front of this thigh to help reduce with the 3D printing process. So let's go ahead and click the top plane right there, and we're going to make a rectangle, but we're actually going to do a center rectangle so we can work out from the center. We're going to make it 4mm wide and 12mm in height. We're now going to extrude this shape with a -12mm. Then we're going to go to the front of this shape and we're going to do the same process, make a 4x12 rectangle. Extrude it with a -12mm. Now that we have the notches cut out both on the side and the top, we're going to make a slot for the actual ball joint to fit in. Let's make a center rectangle. And when we make the center rectangle, we are going to click on this plane right here. We're going to have this 6mm in length and 4mm in height. Now we will extrude that. We're going to do -4mm of an extrude. So we have a nice, neat, clean cut through right there for the ball joint. Let's go ahead and merge this half of a sphere to this body. Come up to Modify, go to Align, make sure that your Align is set to Bodies. We're going to click the inside here, and we're going to click the inside of the other one, and there we have it. What you'll probably notice is that this piece over here was not combined, and that's due to my own error, so we're going to correct that. We need to make sure that rod's back in here. Under Modify, we will select Align. What we're going to do, we're going to select the bottom of this, and it's going to be aligned with that part. Now that we have this as a solid body, we're going to start assembling all three parts to make components and also joints. The first thing we're going to do is we need to make sure all of our pieces are shown, and earlier we had to hide one of our bodies, and it was that centerpiece. Now we're going to start assembling these pieces in the correct order, and this is a fairly easy process. If you recall from the first video, we had to take this part and we had to make them into components rather than bodies. We will need to do the same thing with these newly created pieces. So let's come up here to where it says Assemble. We're going to hit New Component, and we're going to actually hit From Bodies, and we're going to make that a component. Then we're going to come up here, repeat that process for top piece. We have 4 different components we're going to be working with. We have the heel, the toe, the shin, and the thigh. We're going to flip this on the side so we can see the hinges. So we're going to come up to Assemble, and we're going to go under Joint, and we're going to make sure that our motion type is once again set to Revolute. We actually want to take this piece right here, this hinge, and we're going to select it to connect with that rod. We're going to click OK. And if we look at this from a top perspective, we'll see we have those two pieces connected. Pretty sweet. we're going to have to do a little bit of a rotation with this piece, because if we try to assemble it right now, it just won't work correctly. So let's go ahead and go back to our side view. We're actually going to move this, and we're going to rotate it by 180 degrees. Once it's rotated, let's go and make our joint by going up to Assemble. We're going to make this piece attach itself. We're going to, once we have it rotated, we're going to create a joint by going to Assemble, hit Joint. We're going to select this rod. Make sure, once again, your motion is on Revolute. And then connect it to the hinge from the thigh. And there we have it. We have now completed a leg. And the last thing we're going to do, we're actually going to combine all these shapes here. Go up to Modify and Combine. The reason we've done that, you'll notice this leg has one slot right here for a ball joint. Unless you plan on making a pirate, you're going to need 2 legs at least. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to replicate this part. But we can't simply just make a copy of it, because if we make a copy of it, it's always going to have this cutout on the same side, which means I can't assemble it because the joints will always be on inside of the left leg. So I need to make a right leg. One fast way to do this so I don't have to repeat this whole process, and we're going to mirror this whole leg. The way we're going to do this is we're going to come up to Create. And we're going to go under Mirror. And when we go under Mirror, what we're going to do, under Pattern Type, we're actually going to select from Components, because this is now a component. So go ahead and click Component. It turns blue. Hit the spot where the mirror plane is going to take place, which is right there. Then hit OK. And if I rotate this, you'll see there are 2 independent legs. I'm going to go ahead and move them so they're not on top of each other. Simply click M to move. Make sure, once again, that you are selecting components, not bodies, because we've now made these into components. And we can now move that leg out of the way. We can put it up here on the same plane with the other one. And click OK. Now we have 2 functional legs that we're going to use for the duration of our action figure.